Within 30 seconds of meeting a client or a customer or a prospect, the prospect knows whether he's dealing with a top salesperson or an average salesperson. Because the top salesperson is totally different from the average. The top salesperson, how does a consultant consult, by the way? Perfect.
Yes.
Asks questions. The top salesperson, the top consultant, asks very, very good questions and listens very closely to the answers and thinks and reflects the answers back and makes notes and compares the notes and the results of their conversation with the client. So the client gets the feeling that this person has the capacity to really help me do something that's important to me. Another characteristic of top consultants is they're very empathetic with their clients. They're very sensitive to their clients. They listen very, very closely to what their clients say. Another characteristic is they are advisors to their clients. They see themselves as advisors. They see themselves as counselors. They see themselves as helpers, teachers, friends. They don't see themselves as salespeople. And wonderfully enough, if you treat yourself as a consultant, you say this to your customer. You say, Mr. Customer, I don't really see myself as a salesperson. I see myself as a consultant. My reason for being here today is to ask you a few questions and see if there isn't some way that my company can help you and your company or family achieve some of your goals. But I'm really not here to sell you anything. I just want to ask you a few questions and see if I can help you. That way of approaching customers puts you in a separate category from other salespeople. And when you see yourself as a consultant, you walk and talk and act and treat yourself differently, and they treat you differently as well. They say, well, consultant, you consultants sit right here next to my desk. The salespeople sit out in the waiting room. I'll get you a cup of coffee, and we'll get them a glass of water. I'll take you out to lunch, and I'll tell him I can't see him today. Come back another time. The second self-image that top salespeople have is that they see themselves as doctors of selling. They see themselves as professionals. They have their own libraries. They study their profession thoroughly. They realize that as a top sales professional, they can make more than a doctor can make, and they can make it far faster. A doctor has to spend 10, 12, 15 years getting to the point of high income. An excellent salesperson can get there in 1 year, sometimes in 3 months. So they see themselves as professionals in terms of image, in terms of the way they dress, in terms of the way they walk and talk, in terms of their bedside manner, in terms of the way they deal with their customers. Now here's one of the characteristics of doctors. Doctors always work in a particular sequence with their patients. You can never get a doctor to move out of sequence. The sequence is always examination, diagnosis, prescription. When you go to see the doctor will take your critical details on a chart, and then we'll ask you questions, and we'll take your vital signs, and then we'll do tests, and we'll very carefully analyze you and ask you where it hurts and so on. And only then will they go on to the next phase, which is diagnosis, and then prescription. And when you get a prescription from your doctor, you accept it. Salespeople, top salespeople, do the same thing. Only in this case, it's rapport, problem, solution. They establish rapport, they identify the problem through questioning, and then they present their product or service as a solution. And they never allow the customer to say, what you got, and jump right into a presentation. That would be the same as saying, how are you, and going right into a prescription. If a doctor prescribed something without doing a thorough examination and diagnosis, it would be called malpractice. And if a salesperson does it, it's called malpractice as well. Now, the third self-image that top salespeople have is that they see themselves as presidents of their own personal sales corporations. They see themselves as presidents of a company of one. They see themselves as totally self-responsible. They see themselves as completely in charge of their own lives. They realize that anything that happens to them because of themselves. They say, if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. I'm in charge of my own life. I'm in charge of my own career. I determine my own future destiny. No excuses, no blaming. They don't criticize and they don't badmouth. They say that I am in charge of my own life. So therefore, they go out and they look upon themselves as being fully self-responsible individuals. The minute that you begin to view yourself as self-employed, to see yourself as the boss of your own life, you move into the top 3% of people working today. So when you meet with your customers, what you do is you say this. You say, I don't see myself as a salesperson. I see myself more as a consultant, almost like a doctor of my product or service. And my job is to talk to you and see if there isn't some way that we can help you achieve your goals, solve your problems, satisfy your needs with what we sell. So all I would like to do is ask you some questions, and then I'd like to come back to you with some recommendations on how we can help you achieve your goals faster and easier and in a cost-effective way. And when you do that with your customers, they'll say, okay, and they'll treat you totally differently. And from then on, you treat yourself the same way. You walk, talk, act, dress. The key to self-image modification is to act as if you were already the person that you want to be. Act as if you already had the qualities that you want to have. Act as if you already were a consultant, a doctor of selling, and a president of your own corporation. Hi, how are you? How you doing? How's the wife and kids? Get right down to the purpose of your business. There's still people who teach this. These are Neanderthal salespeople and sales trainers, because it doesn't work anymore, because rapport is so important in a sale. Second of all is qualifying. Find out if they got the money before you waste any time with them. Third part was presenting. That's how you talked them out of the money that you had determined that they had. And this fourth part, 40% of the sale, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% of the sale was closing. And we were told, and this will come as a shock to you, that buyers are liars, so close them early and often. The fact is that this is old school selling. It's hit and run selling. It's used car selling. It doesn't work today. Today we use the new model, and the new model is that same triangle, but it's flipped over and it's an upside down model. And the first part of the new model of selling, fully 40% of the sale, is building trust. Building trust is the element that holds and that makes relationships work. Trust is the glue that makes our relationships with every single person in our life that's important to us work. And so therefore, trust, being a very fragile thing, is something that you have to be sensitive to throughout everything that you do with the customer. But trust is the critical factor. It's 40% of all of our relationships, and especially our relationships with our customers. The second part of the sale, 30%, the next level of the triangle, upside down, is identifying needs or problems. And here's the wonderful thing. When you talk to a customer about his or her needs or problems or concerns, and then listen to the answers, the customer trusts you more. And the more you ask questions and listen to the answers, the more the customer trusts you. And the more they trust you, the more they tell you. And the more they tell you and the more you listen and take notes, the more they trust you. And eventually, you can listen your way into a sale by listening so intensely that the customer will eventually tell you everything that you need to know to help them make a good buying decision. The third part of the upside-down triangle, the new model of selling, is 20% of the sale, and it's presenting. Now, presenting is different from the old model. Presenting in the old model is where you try to talk them out of the money. In the new model, you simply show them how your product or service is the ideal solution to their problem. It satisfies their needs better. It's most effective. It is really what they need. And you sort of tie and match their needs to your product features and benefits skillfully. That's the key to the very best sales activities. The last part, the last 10%, is confirming. It's closing. It's getting feedback from the customer. It's assuring that the customer understands what you told them. When you follow with the new model, building trust by identifying needs and then presenting your product or service as a solution to their problem and then assuring that they understand and agree with you, the sales almost take care of themselves. Now here's the rule. The rule is that listening builds trust. Listening builds trust. We all trust and like the people who listen to us the most in our personal and our business lives. There's 4 keys to excellent listening. Key number 1 is to listen attentively. Listen closely. Listen without interrupting. Lean forward. Nod. Be an active listener. Be a reflective listener. Be a responsive listener. But be totally involved. Most people, when they listen, are like boxers, just waiting for a chance to get in another punch. They're waiting for the other person to take a breath so they can jump in with what they have to say. Do you know that the number 1 complaint of purchasing managers in America, year after year after year, about salespeople is that they talk too much? And the number 1 thing that customers like about salespeople is that they listen well and they listen intently to their problems. Number 2 is pause before replying. Don't jump in, pause, wait, reflect, think before responding when the customer is talking. That shows the customer that you're really paying attention and thinking about what they said. Number 3 is question for clarification. Don't assume that you understand what the customer is saying, so always ask this question. My favorite question in selling is, how do you mean? How do you mean exactly? How do you mean? I don't like it, I can't afford it, I don't want it, we're happy with our existing supplier, we don't have the money, it's not in the budget. Well, how do you mean exactly? In other words, always ask, how do you mean? Ask them to expand it. And the 4th part of listening is to feed it back in your own words. Paraphrase it. Say, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. And then feed it back and say it in your own words until the person says, yes, that's it. That's my situation. You've got it. Only then, and only then, 70% of the way through the new model, can you begin talking about your product or service. In fact, we suggest in selling that you go in with nothing. No briefcase, no nothing. and simply concentrate in the first meeting on building trust and identifying needs clearly, and then come back later to do the presentations. There are 2 or 3 parts to differentiating yourself from your competitors based on relationships and the trust factor. The most important differentiator, the most important thing that separates you from all other salespeople of similar products and services is the trust bond that binds you and the customer together. You will find that the people that you buy from the most regularly are the ones who trust you the most. The ones that you sell to the most readily are the ones who trust you the most as well. You will find, by the way, that with your best customers, they'll even buy from you without asking the price. Why? It's because they completely trust you, that the price will be fair, the price will be reasonable, the price will be what it is. The very best salespeople, by the way, are very often not asked the price at all in a sales presentation because the customer trusts them so much that they know the price is what the price is. The key to success in business today, the key to success in selling, is the friendship factor. The key to success in life is the friendship factor. You'll find that the most successful men and women in every single field, including selling, are the ones who have conscientiously and systematically over the course of their lives and careers built up the greatest network of friendly relationships. If you think of your very best customer or your very best customers, the one thing that will come into your mind is that this is a person who is your friend. This is a person you like. This is a person who likes you. This is a person that when you call them, they take your call. And when you arrange to see them, they're eager to see you. And when they call you, you call them back immediately because of the level of friendship. And the 3 elements in friendship are time, caring, and respect. Time is the fertilizer that builds healthy relationships. Relationships require time, and the value of a customer relationship to you is determined by the amount of time that you invest with that customer. Caring is the emotional element. A person cannot buy from you until they feel that you actually care about them and their situation. And so taking the time to ask questions and to listen convinces them that you really do care. And everything that you can do to illustrate this will help you. And the 3rd part is respect. Respecting people supports their self-esteem. People need to be respected by other people. They need to be liked by other people. So if you put relationships at the core of your selling and accept the law of indirect effort, which says that if you focus all of your efforts on building and maintaining high-quality relationships, then the sales will come to you like a river, that you'll never be out of customers, and you'll never be out of resales, and you'll never be out of referrals. Concentrate on the customer, concentrate on the relationship, and the sale will take care of itself.